So Parkinson's affects about 1.5% of the population over 60 years of age. The key thing to be aware of is that in most Western societies we have an ageing population. So for at least the next 50 years there'll be more people over 60 years of age, so therefore the number of people with Parkinson's disease is going to grow. So the pathophysiology of Parkinson's disease, there are a few things that are happening. So the first one is that dopamine cells are dying in the brain, and that's actually happening in all of us all the time, but the rate of death changes for people with Parkinson's disease. But alongside that, there can be accumulation of a substance called alpha-synuclein. So it's a protein, it is misfolded, it accumulates in the brain or accumulates in cells, and as it does that, it can work as what we describe as a rogue protein, so then it goes off and affects other cells, and what that can also do is cause cells in other areas of the brain to die off, and it alters function. What we pick up on is that it changes the way that cells that control movement interact with one another. So cells in the brain normally are firing really independently, and when you need to have a specific movement, you can get collections of cells that work together in order so that you get the movement to occur. And in Parkinson's disease, a few things can happen. Either you can't get those cells to assemble in the right way at the right time, and therefore the movements don't end up happening. And the other sort of things that can happen is that cells that normally don't interact together are now listening to the same beat, and they're firing all at the same time, and therefore you're also getting an incorrect signal. So one of the main focuses of the lab has been to understand how the Mitothalamus works, and we wanted to understand that because it's a key motor area. However, particularly with Parkinson's disease, there had been very few studies that had ever recorded activity there, so we didn't know how it really changed. Optogenetics is a relatively new way of stimulating tissues and brain cells. So previously we've been able to use electrical activity to stimulate the brain, but what happens is it stimulates every single element. By having optogenetics, we can control and stimulate just the Mitothalamus, but we can stimulate just glutamatergic cells in there, and we have a greater level of precision than we've ever been able to do before. The work that we've been doing is really around finding what might be the next generation of deep brain stimulation. So the next generation, what we're hoping is that the side effects that come, the non-specific stimulation side effects, that we might be able to reduce those.